Okay, we've got our molds done. So now it's time to cast parts. I've got back here the material that we'll be using that's actually going to form the urethane. The two molds here that we'll be pouring into. I need a scale because we'll be mixing the contents of the two cans, and really we're going to be using 2 parts. This large balloon, which is clear flex, to 1 part of this, and I know one of them's a catalyst, and I'm not sure exactly which one is which, but we'll be mixing those two. We're going to mix them into this cup, and then we'll pour them into these molds. As you see here, I've kind of got a jig of sorts, just kind of made up for the time being. But one of the things that I want to do, and one of the reasons, I've already made a casting for the butt cap. Now, I can make the butt cap currently. One of the things I experimented with, because with having a butt cap on the end of the shaft, the question is how do you keep it on the end of the shaft? Previously, I've epoxied it, and that was just kind of a attempt to do something. Really didn't have a good answer for it. Back in the origins of golf clubs that use leather grips, they actually would use cork. So I've got some corks, and I had cast this one. The only issue I ran into, you can see this brown up in here, and that's actually where the cork sat. So what I'm going to try to do is I fashioned a slightly deeper cap, and then I've got a jig to hold this cork up just a smidge more, so that maybe I can eliminate this. So let's start mixing our materials and start pouring. So again, 2 parts. One, I've already tared out the cup, so I know it's 7 grams. So let's pour our first one in. Put my cup on here, and I will tare. Actually, I'll take it back. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to tear. I'm going to zero it out there. So I've got my 7 grams. Pour some of this in here. And it's a little difficult to be real neat with this. It's easy to get this stuff all over the place, but we try to do our best. We're not going to need a lot. So I'm right at about, I'm going to try to go 30 grams. There's 30 grams right there of material. So that's what I need 2 parts of, and then I need 1 part of this material, and hopefully I can get this cap open. Forgot about that being an issue. Alright, we've got our cap back here. So I've put 30 grams, that's 23. Let's go back here. My scale doesn't like to stay on very long. Alright, I'm at 31, and that's good because my cup was 7 grams, the amount that I just put in, 24 grams, so I need to put an additional 12. So we're put in this part till we get to 42, and that should be 2 parts to 1. 40, 41, 42. All right. Secure that. Now, this urethane is clear. So when you see parts like this, it's because they've had a dye added to them, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to add the dye. And we don't need a whole lot. We're going to put 1 drop in there, will be perfectly fine. And that's just to give it some color. If I wanted to, I could just not put any coloring in there and make it clear. Maybe we'll mess around with that at some point in time. You see, I only put 1 drop in there, and that 1 drop's made this pretty dark already. So we're just going to mix these two. I think I have plenty mixed up. Should have plenty to make my parts. In this case, because we're really not doing anything specialized, so we don't need to heat molds up. And we did put a release agent in here. I'll pour this here in a moment. The release agent is just something that I'm going to take and smear around the inside of the mold so that when I pour this urethane in, the mold doesn't stick to the urethane rubber. So, and I've been able to get away with just using something as simple as petroleum jelly. I'll just take a small swab of petroleum jelly and place it on the inside of the jar, get a very small amount, and then just wipe down the inside of the mold. And I've been pretty successful in doing that. So we're going to pour our urethane in. Just going to go very slowly. And I'm pouring this, and it's seeping down into the sides. I really don't need to go around. And I'll go up, and we're just about to the top. You can see I'm right at the top, and I have a little bit that I've got that's going over, and when that dries, we'll just cut that excess off. That's not going to be a big deal right there. And now I'll pour my amount for the butt cap. And again, just pouring in until I'm right at the top. There we go. And I've got my cork immersed down in there, so hopefully that cures. And see, I've mixed up a little more than I needed. Whoops, a little more than I needed. Actually, a fair amount more than I needed. Probably can make a couple more parts. And having not done this, it's easy to mix up too much, but I didn't mix up a whole gob. But there's our parts. So now the deal is we're going to leave this for 24 hours, and we'll come back and see what we have. Okay, we're back about 18 hours later. So we're going to take a look and see what we got out of these molds. Actually, let's do this one first. This is the butt cap. And it should peel out here real nice and easy, and it is. Perfect. Take this out. So there's our butt cap. Our cork feels like it's pretty well embedded in there. I'm not going to pull too tight. And we'll take and we'll shave all this stuff off. The idea here is we're going to use this for kind of an interference fit type. So it'll go, this cork will go into the inside of the shaft. And then like on graphite shafts, we'll probably try to shave it down just a little bit, not make it too tight. Maybe just put a small amount of some kind of adhesive to hold it into place. A graphite. Steel I'm not worried about, because steel we can get it if we put something inside the shaft and on the outside of the cork to bond, we can always clean that out pretty easily. But there's our butt cap. So we have something to work with here. And then peel our ferrule out. This one's a little more difficult because we have this piece on the inside here. It's a little sticky. So we'll be gentle so that we don't rip the mold. And we just want to be patient and just kind of work it out a little bit at a time. See if we can get the sides to separate, and once we get that and we start just working it out, there we go. Perfect. Awesome. There's our ferrule. Now, one of the things that kind of we have to just take a look at, and we didn't really talk about when I was doing this, the mixture that I made up for the urethane gives us a urethane that's got a hardness of about a Shore D50, and I'm not sure that many people really know that, what that value means. It's just the hardness of the rubber. This is probably a little bit more flexible than what you would find on a regular rubber grip. One, because of the material, two, just because of the mixture that I made up. One of the reasons that I tried to go a little bit more flexible is because I'm going to try to have to put this around the end of a shaft, and I want to make sure that I can stretch it out. So I aim for a shore hardness of 50. Usually rubber grips are somewhere between 50 and 70. So the feeling of these are a little bit more spongy than what you would find on the rubber from a grip, but for our purposes, they're going to work out, I think, just fine. So there we have it. We've made the prototype part, made a mold out of that, cast our part, and now we got something to make up a club with.